ग्रंथ वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतश्मर्चल भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतश्मर्चल भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शतश्मर्चल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल विशिष्ट महाभागवत शिल गोक्षर बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नितिल विशिष्ट शिल सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिल विशिष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूप नवगौरी गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जी गोपाल पतदास गुनाश्वर गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर प्रसाद वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व विश्व विरक्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam की जय. And is today Lochandas Thakur's, I think today's Lochandas Thakur's Tirubhavtiti or Avirbhavtiti? Anyways, Srila Lochandas Thakur ki jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Let me share my screen. 1 second. Okay. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad. Oh, is it not sharing my full screen? Oh, it's so annoying. This happened before. Anyways, I'm not going to delay any longer. Appearance day, okay. Lochandas Thakur Avirbhavtiti ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gauratishe namaha. There, now it worked. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipaya no Viraha Katara Ajuhavo Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedu Stang Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskritam Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayit. Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Vedantasto Yabhadrani Vedhunoti Suritsatam. Nashta Prayeshvabhavtreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Tavaivasmi, tavaivasmi, na jivami tvaya vina. Iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamang charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshiptastakama dittarangamate kripa maitam sharanam prapana vrinde namaste charanaravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Dira Mataji, are we on verse 26? I think we read up to verse 26, but I just want to confirm with you. Find verse 26. Let's see. When one is free from offenses, it develops ecstatic. Oh, maybe we read up to 30. No, I remember this purport. Oh, whoops, this is the wrong chapter. I want to make that mistake again. Okay. 36. 36. Not 26. Okay. So, yesterday, the Lord apologized to the Kumaras. He said that he approves the punishment that the Kumaras gave him. And he says, I became glorious because of the Brahmins. I enjoy food through the mouth of the Brahmins, and I take their dust. People who respect Brahmins please me, others don't. Let my servants come back to me soon. And then the situation of the Kumaras, they couldn't understand these words of the Lord. They didn't know if he was, But and then the Kumaras, they said, you alone protect the Brahmins. The Kumara said to the Lord, you alone protect the Brahmins. You respect them to set an example. You do not depend on anyone's mercy. We curse two faultless men. We accept whatever you ordain on them or on us. And now this is the Lord. Right, see, they said, O Lord, whatever punishment you wish to award these two innocent persons are also to us. We shall accept without duplicity. We understand that we have cursed two faultless persons. Yeah, so now this is where we are. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam vacha eto suretara gating pratipadya. Eto suretara gatim pratipada sadhya sangramba samprita samadhyanupada yoga puyo sakashamupayasyata ashuyova shapo mayaiva nimitastarabeta vipra. The Lord replied, O Brahmins, know that the punishment you inflicted on them was originally ordained by me. Therefore, they will fall to a birth in a demoniac family. But they will be firmly united with me in thought through mental concentration intensified by anger, and they will return to my presence shortly. Purport. Okay. Purport. The Lord stated that the punishment inflicted by the sages upon the doorkeepers, Jai and Vijay, was conceived by the Lord himself. Without the Lord's sanction, nothing can happen. It is to be understood that there was a plan in the cursing of the Lord's devotees in Vaikuntha, and his plan is explained by many stalwart authorities. The Lord sometimes desires to fight. The fighting spirit also exists in the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how could fighting be manifested at all? Because the Lord is the source of everything, anger and fighting are also inherent in his personality. When he desires to fight with someone, he has to find an enemy. But in the Vaikuntha world, there is no enemy because everyone is fully engaged in his service. Therefore, he sometimes comes to the material world as an incarnation in order to manifest his fighting spirit. In Bhagavad Gita 4:8, also it is said that the Lord appears just to give protection to the devotees and to annihilate the non-devotees. The non-devotees are found in the material world, not in the spiritual world. Therefore, when the Lord wants to fight, he has to come to this world. But who will fight with the Supreme Lord? No one is able to fight with him. Therefore, because the Lord's pastimes in the material world are always performed with his associates, not with others, he has to find some devotee who will play the part of an enemy. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says to Arjuna, "My dear Arjuna, both you and I have appeared many, many times in this material world, but you have forgotten, whereas I remember." Thus, Jai and Vijay were selected by the Lord to fight with him in the material world. And that was the reason the sages came to see him, and accidentally the doorkeepers were cursed. It was the Lord's desire to send them to the material world, not perpetually, but for some time. Therefore, just as on a theatrical stage someone takes the part of an enemy to the proprietor of the stage, although the play is for a short time and there's no permanent enmity between the servant and the proprietor, so the Sura Janas, the devotees, were cursed by the sage, just like, just like as in a play. Anyways, the Surajans, the devotees, they were cursed by the sages to go to the Asurajan, or the atheistic families. That a devotee should come to an atheistic family is surprising, but it is simply a show. After finishing their mock fighting, both the devotee and the Lord are again associated in the spiritual planets. That is very explicitly explained here. The conclusion is that no one falls from the spiritual world or Vaikuntha planet, for it is an eternal abode. But sometimes, as the Lord desires, devotees come into this material world as preachers or as atheists. In each case, we must understand that there is a plan of the Lord. Lord Buddha, for example, was an incarnation, yet he preached atheism. There is no God. But actually, there was a plan behind this, as is explained in the Bhagavatam. Oh my God, sorry. I know I do this again and again, but it's just over and over, Srila Prabhupada is saying how nobody falls from the spiritual world, from the Vaikuntha planet. And I haven't found anything on the contrary of that. So I can't understand how anybody could come to the conclusion that all of us here in this material world fell from Vaikuntha. It's just the most absurd thought. And that was made a resolution, wasn't it, by the GBC or something like that? Anyhow, it's just so bizarre. Okay, Brahma Vacha. So I recently got in an argument over this with somebody also. Somebody was saying that to me, and so that's why it's on my mind. Brahma Vacha. Atate munayo drishtva nayanananda bhajanam vaikuntam taradhishtanam vikuntam cha swayam prabham. Lord Brahma said, after seeing the Lord of Vaikuntha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the self-illuminated Vaikuntha planet, the sages left that transcendental abode. Purport. The transcendental abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita and confirmed in this verse, is self-illuminated. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that in the spiritual world there is no need of sun, moon, or electricity. This indicates that all the planets there are self-illuminated, self-sufficient, and independent. Everything there is complete. Lord Krishna says that once he goes to that Vaikuntha planet, he never returns. Lord Lord Krishna says that once one goes to that Vaikuntha planet, he never returns. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha never return to the material world. But the incident of Jaya and Vijay was a different case. They came to the material world for some time, and then they returned to Vaikuntha. This was a point that so many devotees opposed Gurudev about. And I don't even see how they could twist Srila Prabhupada's words to make them think. It's anyways, kind of frustrating. Bhagavatam parikramya pranipatyanamanya cha pratijagmo pramudita shansanto vaishnavim shriyam. The sages circumambulated the Supreme Lord, offered their obeisances, and returned, extremely delighted at learning of the divine opulences of the Vaishnav. Purport. It is still a respectful practice to circumambulate the Lord in Hindu temples. Especially in Vaishnav temples, there is an arrangement for people to offer their respects to the deity and circumambulate the temple at least 3 times. Bhagavan anugavaha yatamabhaishtamastusham Brahma teja samartopi antum neche matam tume. The Lord then said to his attendants, Ajay and Vijay, "Depart this place, but fear not. All glories unto you. Though I am capable of nullifying the Brahman's curse, I would not do so. On the contrary, it has my approval." Purport. As explained in connection with text 26, all the incidents that took place had the approval of the Lord. Ordinarily, there is no possibility that the 4 sages could be so angry with the doorkeepers, nor could the Supreme Lord neglect his 2 doorkeepers, nor can one come back from Vaikuntha after once taking birth there. All these incidents, therefore, were designed by the Lord himself for the sake of his pastimes in the material world. Thus he plainly says that it was done with his approval. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the inhabitants of Vaikuntha to come back to this material world simply because of a Brahminical curse. The Lord especially blesses the so-called culprits. All glories unto you. A devotee once accepted by the Lord can never fall down. That is the conclusion of this incident. There's no way somebody can twist these words. It's, God. Etat puraiva nirdishtam ramaya krutaya yada pura pavarita dvari vishanti mayuparate. This departure from Vaikuntha was foretold by Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. She was very angry because when she left my abode and then returned, you stopped her at the gate while I was sleeping. I didn't know this part of the story. My sangramba yogena nistirya brahmahelanam pratyashyatam nikashame kalena piyasa punam. The Lord assured the 2 Vaikuntha inhabitants, Jaya and Vijay, by practicing the mystic yoga system in anger, you will be cleansed of the sin of disobeying the Brahmins and within a very short time return to me. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead advised the 2 doorkeepers, Jaya and Vijay, that by dint of bhakti yoga and anger, they would be delivered from the curses of the Brahmins. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Muni remarks in this connection that by practicing bhakti yoga, one can become free from all sinful reactions. Even a Brahma shop, or a curse by a Brahman, which cannot be overcome by any other means, can be overcome by bhakti yoga. One can practice bhakti yoga in many rasas. There are 12 rasas, 5 primary and 7 secondary. The 5 primary rasas constitute direct bhakti yoga, but although the 7 secondary rasas are indirect, they are also counted within bhakti yoga if they are used in the service of the Lord. In other words, bhakti yoga is all-inclusive. If one somehow or other becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes engaged in bhakti yoga as described in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:29-15. Kamam krodam bhayam. The gopis were attracted to Krishna by bhakti yoga and a relationship of lusty desire, kam. Similarly, Kamsa was attracted to bhakti yoga by dint of fear of his death. Thus, bhakti yoga is so powerful that even becoming an enemy of the Lord and always thinking of him can deliver one very quickly. It is said, Vishnu bhakta smrito daiva asurastad vipanyaya. Devotees of the Lord are called demigods, whereas non-devotees are called asuras. But bhakti yoga is so powerful that both demigods and asuras can derive its benefits if they always think of the personality of Godhead. The basic principle of bhakti yoga is to think of the Supreme Lord always. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18:65, Manmana bhavamad bhakta. Always think of me. It doesn't matter which way one thinks. The very thought of the personality of Godhead is the basic principle of bhakti yoga. That's such an interesting thing. In the material planets, there are different grades of sinful activities, of which disrespecting a Brahman or a Vaishnava is the most sinful. Here it is clearly stated that if one can overcome even the grave sin simply by thinking of Vishnu, not even favorably, but in anger, you have to be Krishna conscious in any way possible, in anger or favorably. Thus, even if those who are not devotees always think of Vishnu, they become free of all sinful activities. Krishna consciousness is the highest form of thought. Lord Vishnu is thought of in this age by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. From the statements of the Bhagavatam, it appears that if one thinks of Krishna, even as an enemy, that particular qualification, thinking of Vishnu or Krishna, cleanses one of all sins. That was a really fascinating purport. Okay. Dvastavadishya Bhagavan Vimana Sheni Bhushanam Sarvatishaya Lakshmya Jushtam Swam Dishnamavishat. After thus speaking at the door of Vaikuntha, the Lord returned to his abode, where there are many celestial airplanes and all surpassing wealth and splendor. Purport. It is clear from this verse that all of the incidents took place at the entrance of Vaikuntha Loka. In other words, the sages were not actually within Vaikuntha Loka, but were at the gate. It could be asked, how could they return? I asked Indira this question yesterday, and she said the answer will probably come up in the purport. It looks like it's coming up here. It could be asked, how could they return to the material world if they entered Vaikuntha Loka? But factually, they did not enter, and therefore they returned. There are many similar incidents where great yogis and Brahmins, by dint of their yoga practice, have gone from this material world to Vaikuntha Loka. But they were not meant to stay there. They came back. It is also confirmed here that the Lord was surrounded by many Vaikuntha airplanes. Vaikuntha Loka is described here as having splendid opulence, far surpassing the splendor of this material world. All other living creatures, including the demigods, are born of Brahma, and Brahma is born of Lord Vishnu. Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter, Aham Sarvasva Prabhava. Lord Vishnu is the origin of all manifestations in the material world. Those who know that Lord Vishnu is the origin of everything, who are conversant with the process of creation, and who understand that Vishnu, or Krishna, is the most worshipable object of all living entities, engage themselves in Vishnu worship as Vaishnavas. The Vedic hymns also confirm this. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam. The goal of life is to understand Vishnu. The Bhagavatam also confirms this elsewhere. Foolish people, not knowing that Vishnu is the supreme worshipable object, create so many worshipable objects in this material world, and therefore they fall down. Toto girvana rishabho dustaradhari lokata atta shriyo brahma shapar abhutam vigatasmayo. But those two doorkeepers, the best of the demigods, their beauty and luster diminished by the curse of the Brahmins, became morose and fell from Vaikuntha, the abode of the Supreme Lord. Tada Vikunta Dishna Shanat Tayorni Patamanaya Ahakaro Mahanase Vimana Greshu Putraka. Then, as Jai and Vijay fell from the Lord's abode, a great roar of disappointment arose from all the demigods who were sitting in their splendid airplanes. Tave vahyaduna prapto parshara pravaro hare diter jathara nirvishtam kashyapam teja ulpanam. Lord Brahma continued, those two principal doorkeepers of the personality of Godhead have now entered the womb of Diti, the powerful semen of Kashyapa Muni having covered them. Purport. Here is clear proof of how a living entity coming originally from Vaikuntha Loka is encaged in material elements. The living entity takes shelter within the semen of a father, which is injected into the womb of a mother, and with the help of the mother's emulsified ovum, the living entity grows a particular type of body. In this connection, it is to be remembered that the mind of Kashyapa Muni was not in order when he conceived the two sons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Therefore, the semen he discharged was simultaneously extremely powerful and mixed with the quality of anger. It is to be concluded that while conceiving a child, one's mind must be very sober and devotional. For this purpose, the Garbha Dhan Sanskar is recommended in the Vedic scriptures. If the mind of the father is not sober, the semen discharged will not be very good. Thus, the living entity, wrapped in the matter produced from the mother and father, will be demoniac like Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. The conditions of conception are to be carefully studied. This is a very great science. Tayora surayoradya tejasaya mayor hiva akshiptam teja etarhi bhagavangstar viditsati. It is the prowess of these twin asuras, demons, that has disturbed you, for it has minimized your power. There is no remedy within my power. There is no remedy within my power, however, for it is the Lord himself who desires to do all this. This is Brahma talking to all the demigods. Because the whole universe became dark by the power of these demigods that were in the womb of Diti for 100 years. So Brahma is explaining the whole reason of this. Purport. Although Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, formerly Jai and Vijay, became asuras, the demigods of this material world could not control them, and therefore Lord Brahma said that neither he nor all the demigods could counteract the disturbance they created. They came within the material world by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he alone could counteract such disturbances. In other words, although Jai and Vijay assumed the body of asuras, they remained more powerful than anyone, thus proving that the Supreme Personality of Godhead desired to fight because the fighting spirit is also within him. He is the original in everything, but when he desires to fight, he must fight with a devotee. Therefore, by his desire only were Jai and Vijay cursed by the Kumaras. The Lord ordered the gatekeepers to go down to the material world to become his enemies, so that he could fight with them, and his fighting desires would be satisfied by the service of his personal devotees. Brahma showed the demigods that the situation created by the darkness for which they were disturbed was the desire of the Supreme Lord. He wanted to show that even though these two attendants were coming in the forms of demons, they were very powerful, greater than the demigods, who could not control them. No one can surpass the acts of the Supreme Lord. The demigods were also advised not to try to counteract this incident, because it was ordered by the Lord. Similarly, anyone who is ordered by the Lord to perform some action in this material world, especially preaching his glories, cannot be counteracted by anyone. The will of the Lord is executed under all circumstances. Vishvasya stiti layodbhava heturadyo yogeshwarar api duratyaya yogamaya Kshemam vidasyati sano bhagavans tradishas tatras madhya vimrishena kiyan iharta. My dear sons, the Lord is the controller of the three modes of nature and is responsible for the creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe. His wonderful creative power, Yogamaya, cannot be easily understood even by the masters of yoga. That most ancient person, the Supreme Personality the Personality of Godhead, will alone come to our rescue. What purpose can we serve on his behalf by deliberating on the subject? Purport. When something is arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not be disturbed by it, even if it appears to be a reverse according to one's calculations. For example, sometimes we see that a powerful preacher is killed, or sometimes he is put into difficulty, just as Haridas Thakur was. He was a great devotee who came into this material world to execute the will of the Lord by preaching the Lord's glories. But Haridas was punished at the hands of the Qazi by being beaten in 22 marketplaces. Similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified, and Prahlad Maharaj was put through so many tribulations. The Pandavas, who were direct friends of Krishna, lost their kingdom. Their wife was insulted, and they had to undergo many severe tribulations. Seeing all these reverses affect devotees, one should not be disturbed. One should simply understand that in these matters there must be some plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam's conclusion is that the devotee is never disturbed by such reverses. He accepts even reverse conditions as the grace of the Lord. One who continues to serve the Lord even in reverse conditions is assured that he will go back to Godhead, back to the Vaikuntha planets. Lord Brahma assured the demigods that there was no use in talking about how the disturbing situation of darkness was taking place, since the actual fact was that it was the order by the Supreme Lord. Brahma knew this because he was a great devotee. It was possible for him to understand the plan of the Lord. I really like that purport. I'm going to save this purport. Okay. Something good to remember whenever we're going through a difficult situation, or whenever a devotee is going through a difficult situation. Okay. So it's only 7:46 right now. We still have time. So maybe I'll begin the next chapter. Or should I end here? I could read for another 15 minutes, or I can end now. Let's see, 1 through 15, how long is that? What is that, Indira Mataji? Here he's saying back to Vaikuntha. I don't know that. Okay, these verses are really quick, so maybe I'll just read about the bad omens that happened when they appeared. That will take less than 10 minutes, I think. victory of Hiranyaksha over all the directions of the universe. Okay. Maitreya Uvacha Nisham Yatma Bhuva Gitam Karanam Shankayojita Tatta Sarve Nyavartanta Tridivaya Divokasha Kosa. Sri Maitreya said, the demigods, the inhabitants of the higher planets, were freed from all fear upon hearing the cause of the darkness explained by Brahma, who was born from Vishnu. Thus they all returned to their respective planets. Purport. The demigods, this is the only long purport in this, and it's not even that long. All the rest is really short. The demigods, who are denizens of higher planets, are also very much afraid of the incidents such as the universes becoming dark, so they consulted Brahma. This indicates that the quality of fear exists for every living entity in the material world. The four principal activities of material existence are eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. The fear element exists also in the demigods. On every planet, even in the higher planetary systems, including the moon and the sun, as well as on this earth, the same principles of animal life exist. Otherwise, why are the demigods also afraid of the darkness? The difference between the demigods and ordinary human beings is that the demigods approach authority, whereas inhabitants of this earth defy authority. If people would only approach the authority, then every adverse condition in this universe could be rectified. Arjuna was also disturbed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but he approached the authority, Krishna, and his problem was solved. The conclusive instruction of this incident is that we may be disturbed by some material condition, but if we approach the authority who can actually explain the matter, then our problem is solved. The demigods approached Brahma for the meaning of the disturbance, and after hearing from them, they were satisfied and returned home peacefully. Another really good purport, really essential purport. Let's see this one also. Okay. Ditistu Bhartaradeshar Apatya Parikshankini Purne Varsha Shate Sadvi Putra Prasu Shuve Yamo. What the heck happened? The virtuous lady Diti had been very apprehensive of the trouble to the gods from the children in her womb, and her husband predicted the same. She brought forth twin sons after a full 100 years of pregnancy. Urpata Bhava Satra Nipetur Jayamanayo Devi Bhuvantarikshe Cha Lokasya Rupayavaha. On the birth of the two demons, there were many natural disturbances, all very fearful and wonderful, in the heavenly planets, the earthly planets, and in between them. Sahachala Bhuvaschelur Disha Sarva Prajavjvalu Solkaschasha Naya Petu Ketavascharti Hetava. There were earthquakes along the mountains on the earth, and it appeared that there was fire everywhere. Many inauspicious planets like Saturn appeared, along with comets, meteors, and thunderbolts. Purport. When natural disturbances occur on a planet, one should understand that a demon must have taken birth there. In the present age, the number of demoniac people is increasing. Therefore, natural disturbances are also increasing. There is no doubt about this, as we can understand from the statements of the Bhagavatam. Whoa, that's intense. Vava vayu sudus sparsha Putkarani Rayan Mohu Unmulayan Nagapatin Vadaniko Rajodvaja. Their blue winds, which were most uninviting to the touch, hissing again and again and uprooting gigantic trees. They had storms for their armies. And clouds of dust for their ensigns. What's an ensign? Ensign is a flag or standard, especially military or naval, one indicating nationality. a sign, an emblem. Purport. When there are natural disturbances like blowing cyclones, too much heat or snowfall, and uprooting of trees by hurricanes, it is to be understood that the demoniac population is increasing, and so the natural disturbance is also taking place. There are many countries on the globe, even at the present moment, where all these disturbances are current. This is true all over the world. There is insufficient sunshine, and there is always clouds in the sky, snowfall, and severe cold. These assure that such places are inhabited by demoniac people who are accustomed to all kinds of forbidden, sinful activity. Udasattariramboda ghataya nashtabhagane vyomni pravrishtatamasa nasma vyadrishyate padam. The luminaries in the heavens were screened by masses of clouds, in which lightning sometimes flashed as though laughing. Darkness reigned everywhere, and nothing could be seen. The lightning flashed as though laughing. Wow, I'm going to look at lightning different now. Evil laughing. Chukrosha vimana vardhir udurmi kshubito dhara sodapanascha saritas chakshubhu shushka panjaka pankaja. The ocean with its high waves wailed aloud as if stricken with sorrow, and there was a commotion among the creatures inhabiting the ocean. The rivers and lakes were also agitated, and lotuses withered. Moho paridayo bhuvan saravo shashisur suryayo nirgata rata nirhrata vivarebhya prajankire. Misty halos appeared around the sun and the moon during the solar and lunar eclipses again and again. Claps of thunder were heard even without clouds, and sounds like those of rattling chariots emerged from the mountain caves. Antargrameshu mukhato vamantyo vahnim ulpanam sregalolu katankarai pranedur ashivam shiva. In the interior of the villages, she-jackals yelled portentously, vomiting strong fire from their mouths. Whoa! And jackals and owls also joined them with their cries. Vomiting fire? What's portentously? Portentously means of momentous significance. Done in a pompously or overly solemn manner, so as to impress. Okay, Sangha, what time is it? 7:56, okay, 4 minutes. Sangitavad rodhanavad unnamaya shirodharam vyamuncham vividavacho grama tatastata. Raising their necks, dogs cried here and there, now in the manner of singing and now of now in this manner of singing and now of wailing. Karascha karkashai kshata korair gnanto dharatalam karakara rabhasamata paryadhavam varutasha. O Vidura, the asses ran hither and thither in herds, striking the earth with their hard hooves and wildly braying. Purport. Asses also feel very respectable as a race, and when they run in flocks hither and thither in so-called jollity, it is understood to be a bad sign for human society. That's really funny. Okay. Rudanto rasapatrasta nirdaruda patankhaga Ghoshe ranye cha pashava shakrin mudram akurvata. Frightened by the braying of the asses, birds flew shrieking from their nests, while cattle in the cowsheds as well as in the woods passed dung and urine. Gavatrasan asridohas toyadha puyavarshina vyarudan devalingani drumapeturvinanilam. Cows, terrified, yielded blood in place of milk. Clouds rained pus. The images of the gods in the temples shed tears, and trees fell down without a blast of wind. Grahan punyatamam anye bhagnangchapi bhaganangchapi dipita aticherur vakragatya yuyudhuscha parasparam. Ominous planets such as Mars and Saturn shone brighter and surpassed the auspicious ones such as Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus, as well as a number of lunar mansions. Taking seemingly retrograde courses, the planets came in conflict with one another. The entire universe is moving under the three modes of material nature. Those living entities who are in goodness are called the pious species, pious lands, pious trees, etc. It is similar with the planets also. Many planets are considered pious, and others are considered impious. Saturn and Mars are considered impious. When the pious planets shine very brightly, it is an auspicious sign. But when the inauspicious planets shine very brightly, that is not a very good sign. Okay, it's just turned 8 o'clock, and we'll read this tomorrow. This is the last verse. I'm just going to read the translation, but we'll start from 15 tomorrow. Marking these and many other omens of evil times, everyone but the 4 sage sons of Brahma, who were aware of the fall of Jaya and Vijay and of their birth as Diti's sons, was seized with fear. They did not know the secrets of the portents. They did not know the secrets of these portents, and thought that the dissolution of the universe was at hand. Is that the same as the word portentous? Portents means a sign or warning that something especially momentous or calamitous is likely to happen. It's like an omen. Okay. So they did not know of the secrets of these omens, and thought that the dissolution of the universe was at hand. All right, so we'll read from here tomorrow. We finished the. Let me just bring this back on the screen. Yeah, we just finished this book and began the next book, the last part of the 3rd canto. Jai Shri Guru Granth. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Granth Giridhari, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatara Shata Shishmat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Guru Deva ki Jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatara Shata Shishmat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki Jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatara Shata Shishmat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatara Shata Shishmat Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki Jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatara Shata Shishmat Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitya Vishnu Maha Bhagavat Shila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nugorya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Sharada Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Sharada Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय. सर्व अभिष्ट पदार्थ गिरिराज महाराज की जाय. श्री राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज यमुना गंगा तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जाय. श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय. समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय. श्री लोचन दास ठाकुर की जाय. तृतीय शुभ आविर्भाव तिथि की जाय. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जाय. श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवाय च कृष्ण भक्ति परदेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः. वंशा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Dandava pranams. And Dira Mataji, I saw this a bit too late, and so I don't know what part you're talking about. He's saying back to Vaikuntha. Anyways, maybe you can send me a WhatsApp message. Oh, the comment is referring to the last purport of the chapter. Oh, okay. Okay, Hari Bol, Mancha Kalpa. Dandava pranams, Hari Bol.